Oh, it just got very quiet here.
So your presence, Mo, it's mesmerizing.
So we're here, yeah.
Folks, it's going to be a bit of a love-in, a little bit of healthy banter, so here we go.
Let's talk security tokens.
I think that's the theme of your conference.
Yeah, it is. Let's talk security tokens. What are you looking at? Do you have a definition of security tokens, or like we talked yesterday, security tokens is it's a legal definition rather than a ink blot test?
I don't see it as a social contract. As a social contract, what I see it as is a definable construct. It's first and foremost, the practical application of security token is going to be a share. It's going to be taking all the abstract theories that we have and really putting that to the side for probably about 6 months while we look at how a share cert works, and then scrub out all the analog components of that structure and then convert that into something that is effective, so that if we want to swap shares peer-to-peer through an exchange and we want to have KYCs and AMLs done by regulatory oversight, it will be efficient. And fintech's always been the place to drive adoption of new tech quickly, but I think what you're going to see is everyone in this room is going to be able to get warrants exercised, deal with their options effectively, and this is going to be great for companies, because companies are going to be able to actually really digitize their infrastructure and how they reward their employees, and it's going to be fast. Because candidly, when I remember being in my early 20s, I don't recall young people, including myself, understanding how my options package worked. I didn't know who to talk to. Do I go to HR? Do I go to the finance guy? And then I'd lose the paperwork, and then I'd leave the job, find another job. Whereas if it just sits in a wallet, it's a digital backup, and I can source it whenever I need, and I can exercise it when I need, it's a lot. All of that complexity should be crushed down into something as simple as buying a token.
You have a position on, it sounds like, and I'm not gonna assume your position, but is there any way that security tokens aren't a major part of the future?
No, they are definitively. Security tokens are they're a necessity. They're as important to us now as any other aspect of technology improving the quality of our life. We all have mobile phones, but the innovation wasn't the mobile phone. The innovation was the app store, right? Who here can't live without apps? It sounds corny, like a privilege, but the reality is you can't get through this world without a dedicated ecosystem supporting your app infrastructure. Mo and I were chatting about a week ago on an unrelated topic, and on my phone, I was like, I have 11 phone numbers. I've got Signal, Telegram, Snapchat, phone. It just goes on, and I'm like, I remember just having a phone number, and it was so much easier. You want to call me? Just call me. Yeah. Right? Now I have 2 brokers. I have to get my stock on 3 different exchanges. Some of the stocks have warrants, some have options. I don't care, and I don't want to deal with any of that. I just want it to be fast.
I was against using Slack for a long time just because I didn't want 100 new inboxes. But now I have it, and it's kind of efficient. How fast do you think this is going to go? How fast is this technology going to propagate outwards? Is it going to start in the United States, start in New York, start propagating to LA, Miami, then start going to Canada or Europe? How fast are we going to be able to invest or buy a security token of a rice farm in Indonesia?
Well, most of the data, Mauro, you're a thought leader in the space. I know other people and have been doing this for some time. We talk pretty regularly, consistently about it. To the best of my knowledge, the only functional exchange that will be up and running in 2018 that is definitive, not just Coinbase's great efforts, which we're all appreciative of, but at a functional level for coins that are ICO-based, it's going to be the Canadian Stock Exchange, the CSE, pushing out their digital platform later in Q3, Q4 of 2018. We have, here over Victory Square, we happen to have had the opportunity to meet the international team that's going to be listing the first security token. It's not a probability of loss, it's definitive.
What's going to happen now? Like, you have the Canadian Stock Exchange, and then maybe NASDAQ releases their thing, and they've been lending their technology for the DEX exchange. It seems like now we're just going to recreate a lot of the problems that exist currently, which is 20 different exchanges that aren't speaking to each other and using different protocols and using different sort of technologies, and then it just gets just as complicated and cumbersome as it used to be.
I think you're spot on. The social impact of this, candidly, try another way. Let's unwind this. We went through the advancement of, for example, I remember having a Nokia candy bar phone, and I'd sit there and I'd play Snake, waiting for my mom to come to the car, and I would go through my life. And then the the emergence of like smartphones, like real smartphones, changed my availability. Suddenly, you could access me anywhere. I didn't know if my parents were low-jacking me, if they knew where I was at all times, and I wasn't thinking about that. And then it became a problem. Then I was like, I'm always available. Then I had to retrain myself to understand that I could leave my phone in the kitchen. I can go out play. I could live my life. And then the advancement of the App Store showed up. Then the fact that, to some degree, I act as a bit of a guardian for one of my siblings. So in that capacity, I can track my sister. I know that she's well, that she's safe. She has consent. She understands that I'm supervising her at arm's length, and she has a way to provide additional value. There's more security. The trade-offs are incremental, but cumulatively, they hit us really quick. And I think it's going to be very familiar for the first 12 months, and then all new vectors of opportunity are going to show up. Things that we haven't thought about are going to get very, very easy. I mean, I would say that most people I know can't explain how a derivative works. But if it's embedded into a smart contract, and the smart contract links to an infographic, oh my God, game changer, right? Suddenly Main Street understands what finance is actually about.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see in a year or two what sort of companies are created, because then there's going to be these interoperable layers. And maybe you will pay for a coffee at Starbucks with an Apple share. Do you think that's going to happen? Or do you think that I don't know, what are your thoughts? I have no idea.
That's a good question. I think we're going to eventually get to the point where you'll have some sort, and let's be real transparent here. I'm a big advocate of AI. I think machine learning and neural is going to be the driving technology that enables blockchain to be truly successful and adopted. And I would say to you that if I'm going to Starbucks, I don't know, 36 months from now, and I'm grabbing a coffee and I'm waiting for someone and I want to pay, I should have the option of basically having an AI that understands that I have some play money, that it uses kind of for day trading, and it can pull cash on that. So it lives off the interest, and interest is assigned for coffee. Interest is assigned for gas money. And so it'll arbitrage and do what it does in the back end. And I'm like, I buy my coffee, and it just automatically picks the select currency on the appropriate exchange, does the arbitrage, pays the fee to whatever exchange is done, and I have a hot cup of Java, and I'm laughing.
I think that will be I think you're right, whether or not you believe in AI or not.
Could you repeat that? That's never happened before.
I think you might be right.
Much better, much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for sure the retail experience is going to be much different, and I do think there will come a time where you and I will be in a restaurant, and the food will be really good, and the service will be really good, and potentially sitting there we could buy shares of the restaurant.
You know, it's funny. I'm actually privy to a project where the owner's actually looking to set up a new platform specifically around a security token to clone his restaurant. He built a high-end restaurant, has 1 Michelin star, and he's like, you know what? I can replicate this, but I don't want to go through the conventional fundraising of trying to source capital through, hospitality management. It's a lot of work. It's very competitive. But I've sat in restaurants and I'm like, they're doing it right. I want to own a piece of this. And what's interesting is that you could go back to that restaurant over a year and a half, and suddenly you can end up with a sliver of the business up to a minority share that's actually lucrative. If I may, what's your thoughts on that? What do you think?
And it's something that I want to talk to you about real estate in a second, but I do think that companies, for whatever reason, are looking for investments, or maybe restaurants are looking for investments, whether or not they want some more money to build another chain or another branch, being able to offer to people that are there, because once you're in a restaurant, if you buy a share in a restaurant, and if anybody has the opportunity or fortunate enough to own a part of a restaurant, you become instantly loyal to that restaurant. You tell your friends, like, I'm partner in this restaurant, this is a great place to eat. If you have more and more of these people, you have more and more people that are part of this community and call themselves restaurateurs. And I think it's good for business to have more people involved in the business.
Absolutely. I'm smiling. My parents were successful as entrepreneurs. They were immigrants, came to Canada, and they started off in hospitality. And my father was always loved the fact that everyone's like, man, I want to own a bar. I want to own a club. I want to own a restaurant. My father would be like, do you want to work 18 hours a day? Do you want to carry the load and be responsible for all of this work, for high attrition, for all the things that were native to that industry? And what he always liked to hear is like partners. You need partners. And really what you're talking about is we've discussed the application of security tokens. Security tokens are the divisibility to the nth power of anything that we think should receive that. And really market validation will happen by experimentation. We'll try with restaurants. It might work. maybe it works for a smokehouse, for a barbecue in Texas, because like everyone in Texas is down with barbecue and they know good. They're arbiters of taste, to pardon the pun. But if with real estate, it could be something even simpler. It's like, I want to buy a condo. I'm not making enough money to buy a condo today, and I'm really tired of paying rent. Maybe I'll join a condo collective. Maybe it's crowdsourced, powered by some sort of security token. And over the next 4 years, I can source enough of the money that I pay on top of my rent to put a down payment on a condo, so that I actually have a way to chip away. And instead of just saving money, I can earn in. And earning in is, I think, what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, I think earning in is a new method. Your thoughts on which of these industries are going to be disrupted? When you think security tokens, you're talking about shares, derivatives, dividends, all these things. Real estate, is that the next thing that will, when securitized, will be completely upturned?
Short answer, I would say real estate is in the top two. I would say the one that we haven't talked about extensively at this conference, I haven't seen a lot about it, is still gaming. I think game publication, I should disclose, I'm a big fan of games. I love mobile gaming, I love console gaming, I love a good story, and I love participating in it. And the idea of joining an Indiegogo platform, which is great, and getting a T-shirt and be able to support a game, also good. But if I can invest in a game where I end up owning a piece of it, and I can play multiplayer with my friends, and I can incentivize my nieces and nephews to, what's that?
Get an avatar of yourself in it?
Even better, right? Let's be honest, we're a little self-effacing here, but it'd be nice. And so you get yourself involved in the game, and you can own the publication, and you can own a distribution paid to you regularly. Maybe it incentivizes you to promote this. Because what you talked about with restaurants earlier is that if we've got 3,000, 4,000 people in a small community supporting a restaurant, they're all incentivized that when people come to town to visit, they take them to the restaurant because like, this place is baller. You should come. This is delicious, right? And that viral coefficient is what's really going to drive adoption. Viral coefficient is what are you doing tonight? In your network, and I'm sure in everyone's network, if you think about what you do on a Friday evening, there's probably on your phone 3 people who are up to no good. The people who are into mischief. And you're going to be like, I'd like to go out, but these pajamas are super comfortable. But if you know you own a piece of something, that they own a piece of something where it's always just happening, you're going to want to go there. Yeah. And you'll be incentivized to do it because the viral coefficient has driven you to participate.
I also think you'll be incentivized to offer support and criticism to these places and making the market better.
As soon as Yelp can be iterated out into something more respectable, that would be great.
It'd be cool if Yelp turned into a security token platform for restaurants.
I would love to see Yelp try. That would be a fantastic opportunity. I wish they were bold enough to do it, and maybe they are.
If anybody knows somebody here from Yelp, please put them in touch, and we're about to do an ICO.
Is there any officers of Yelp in the room? Anyone? Anyone? I've always been threatened by my spouse to, she's going to Yelp me on a daily performance rating, and that haunts me. So, yeah, that's tough.
What else is new about security tokens?
Candidly, so I'm situated in Vancouver, Canada, and Vancouver, Canada is a global home to mining and forestry. It's a commodities place. It's a place we're very familiar with, what we call sticks and stones. And ironically, sticks and stones are probably the easiest thing to translate into a security token. A year ago, I found myself talking to some bankers internationally, locally in Canada, here in the US, and they're like, how do I pull oil out of the ground in a more efficient capacity? We've talked about STOs, we've talked about ICOs and TGEs, and they're like, can we have an initial mining offering? I'm like, sure, why not? Can we have, can we put a down payment on a piece of forestry that's sustainable? Can we create a coin that allows us to harvest wood, but has a mechanism that allows us to pay for the replanting of trees, and maybe incorporate a social impact component as well? And I'm like, dude, it's digital. You can do whatever you want. And the best thing about it is, you don't have to be smart enough to solve it yourself. There are tons of people who would work collaboratively to help you deliver that. If you like getting rich and that's your thing, get as rich as you want, but it doesn't mean you can't be held accountable to the social impacts of your activities. And the best thing about it is, digital technologies scrub out the cost to almost zero when they're applied correctly. Yeah. I think it's fantastic. And the reality is, we as a people need to do better. And I think it's, as I said yesterday, I believe blockchain is a fundamentally important technology that it brings us to a connective layer, right? Generates this fabric where we can all work collaboratively, efficiently. That's why.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is this huge social angle to this and social impact angle. I'm part of a few projects that use blockchain to help with identities for refugees and children without identities. And that's in its most simple form. You have an immutable database to keep track of who's who and what's what. As it relates to security tokens and social good, I don't know how that's going to play out. Are you going to be able to have like you can make a security token for a charity or an NGO, and somehow there's money involved in dividends and in shares of this thing, and maybe it is the case where there's this viral coefficient of people want to join this offering because they want to be associated with it and do something better and give back to the community. But I don't think people have thought much about, when they do a security token offering, what is the social impact of that and what is their corporate responsibility if it's successful?
If I rewind this, I think Salesforce is about 12 or 15 years old, and they have a policy called 111. And to the best of my knowledge, 111 drives a social impact thesis on profitability, on share distribution. Essentially, it incentivizes their entire company to make sure, at a minimum, that 1% of what they're into is going into the communities they support and activate on. So this isn't new ground for us. Everyone, to the best of my knowledge, I know, has in some way participated in helping the common good. And the nice thing about blockchain is it's the documentation layer and it's the actualization layer of that. And that's helpful. But what we can really get out of blockchain, and I've heard it commented on from some of the people who have spoken about this conference and others, is that the chains, if you will, the blocks that we're building now, we haven't really nailed that parlance, have we? But the blockchains that we've come across now, you're going to see a consolidation. You're going to see, different levels, different tiers of functionality. You're going to see consolidation of data, and you're going to see machine learning and neural read that data fast and help us extrapolate data. And what's most important about this is, there are problems that are near and dear to all of our hearts. People have lost family to cancer. People support animals. It's near and dear to both our hearts. There are friends who are like, dude, help kids. Why are you helping animals? I'm like, you do you, I'll do me. But if I can read blockchains internationally, and there's people on the other side of the planet who, in aggregate, can deploy enough funding, enough actionable resources, enough momentum, marketing, and it's just a matter of finding what we don't know. What blockchain does is blockchain creates that Rockstar Games, that Grand Theft Auto world without the crime, hopefully, and gives us the ability to find every nook and cranny and be able to extract value out of it and then link people up who have mutual desires, mutual games. I mean, I remember years ago, getting online, playing a multiplayer game, and I got online with 16 other people, and we laid waste on a mission, and I was like, I don't know these people, but we had a hell of a good time. And for 3 hours, I ate Doritos and laid waste on my enemies, and I was like, friend. And we would just go do that from time to time. We would just go solve problems. And I think blockchain enables us to do that, to raise capital, to deploy resources, to audit, to be held accountable. That's where we're going with this. And security tokens give us that functionality. And because regulators have spent years, decades, centuries, pardon my swearing, centuries putting this ecosystem together, we have a lot of battle-tested knowledge. And I don't think all of it's great, and I think everything iterates, but we're going to be fortunate enough to see this extract and give us some real tangible value.
Yeah. I think we'll end here, but there was a commercial. I don't know if you have TELUS in Vancouver?
God help us, we do.
There was a commercial there which their tagline was, "The future is friendly." And here's hoping that security tokens aren't the new Wall Street bankers, Gordon Gekko thing, and we could actually make a difference with this and just make the world a better place and more efficient and help everybody with this technology.
Well, I'll echo that. Candidly, TELUS is a great company. They do a lot of social impact. They drive a lot of value into the Canadian ecosystem. And the future is friendly because the future is whatever the hell we want to make out of it. We're accountable for that. I mean, it's hokey as hell to say that, but we're accountable for the actions we make. Security tokens, the application of blockchain, all of this stuff is tools. We have to decide as a collective what to do with it. And it's going to be messy for a little while. Let's be candid, it's a little messy now, but we can solve those problems. So, get off our asses, do work, enjoy ourselves.
Very good. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you for having me, Bob.